As a looter shooter, it's natural for Destiny to produce an overwhelming number of weapons with the release of every DLC, season, episode, update, seasonal event, playlist rewards, raids, dungeons, and probably a dozen other sources that I'm missing. So now that it's December and the year's coming to a close, I thought it'd be fun to do a video covering the top 10 weapons of 2024. I did think about including exotics on this list, but with how many god tier exotics were actually introduced this year, I decided to let the legendaries shine on their own. But with that said, if you'd like to see an exotic list in the future, be sure to let me know down in the comments below. We'll be reviewing everything from Season of the Wish all the way through Onslaught, Pantheon, the final shape, and ending with the most recent episodes. I'm Above, and if you enjoyed today's video, a like and subscription would be greatly appreciated. Now, let's get into it. So let's kick things off with an honorable mention that just barely didn't make the list. First up, we have the Call. I know, this is a top 10 list, but with how many people loved this weapon, especially during the Final Shape campaign, I just had to mention it here. This Strand rocket sidearm was introduced as a world drop from the Pale Heart, and was the first rocket sidearm that can be used in the kinetic slot. There are so many good perks on this thing, including Demo, Lead from Gold, Beacon Rounds, and Slice in Column 1, and One for All, Golden Tricorn, and Desperate Measures in Column 2. Before Episode Revenant came out, this weapon would comfortably fit in the top 10 list, but with the release of new weapons that we'll mention later in the video, and the inevitable power creep that happens over time, the Call just misses out on the top 10 weapons of 2024. Now it's time for the list. At number 10, we have No Hesitation. This is a brand new support frame auto rifle that is truly the first of its kind, and it's all about supporting and healing your allies. This drops from the Pale Heart and is easily one of the most unique weapons Bungie has ever made. This frame deals damage like a normal auto rifle when ADS'd, but when hip-fired, it functions in a similar fashion to Lumina by sending healing bullets to your allies. And with frame-specific perks like Physic and Circle of Life, you can play a full-on support character and get rewarded with team-wide restoration and increased damage to your auto rifle in return. I know this playstyle isn't for everyone, nor is this level of support or healing always necessary in all levels of content, but in activities like Day 1 Vesper's Host, where you desperately needed healing in the Red Room for example, you quickly start to understand just how good this weapon actually is. At number 9, we have yet another brand new weapon archetype introduced with the Final Shape. Coming from the Salvation's Edge raid, Nullify is a heavy burst pulse rifle that shoots 2 bullets per burst, similar to the Graviton Lance exotic. But instead of chaining void explosions, this weapon deals high damage and comes with just about every perk you could ever want on a pulse rifle. In Column 1, you have Rapid Hit, Heal Clip, Demolitionist, and Firefly, and in Column 2, you have Incandescent, Desperate Measures, and a brand new raid-specific perk known as Chaos Reshaped, which is essentially a more powerful version of Frenzy. The longer you're in combat, the more damage and self-healing this weapon does. Chaos Reshaped times 2 grants you a 35% damage bonus for simply being in combat while passively healing you in the process. The combination of this high damage archetype and great perks makes pulse rifles feel great to use again, and in my opinion, it is by far the most desirable piece of loot from the brand new raid. Number 8 on the list goes to one of the most iconic Destiny weapons of all time in the Mountaintop. This thing dominated the sandbox during Forsaken and took a mountain of nerfs, no pun intended, and sunsetting to finally take this thing out of the meta. Bungie would eventually reprise this weapon with Into the Light, reintroducing it to the Onslaught loot pool. Now, it may not have ridiculous Lunafaction boss melting capabilities like it did before, but it does come with extremely powerful perks that give it a place in today's sandbox, and even comes with rocket jumping tech with movement so fun that it alone would place it on this list. In terms of perks, in Column 1 we have Autoloading, Lead from Gold, and Demolitionist, and in Column 2 we have Frenzy and Recombination. My god roll of choice is definitely Autoloading and Recombination, as this synergy with powerful ability-based builds nowadays gives you a pocket delete button whenever you need it. Recombination times 10 will double Mountaintop's damage, allowing you to decimate champions and insta-kill most priority targets. With that said, powerful new archetypes of special weapons have popped up this year, which is why Mountaintop only comes in at number 8 on the list. At number 7, we have the Liturgy. This is the new hotness from episode Revenant, as it rolls with some new perks that are very powerful on this double fire grenade launcher. In column 1, we have Slideways, Rhyme Stealer, and Envious Arsenal, which either lets you top off ammo by sliding, lean heavily into damage resist and frost armor with stasis focused builds, or freely auto-load this weapon during damage rotations. And in column 2, we have Chill Clip, an extremely rare perk that is actually the ideal pairing for all 3 perks in column 1. This allows your grenades to slow and freeze targets, which is not only great against champions and mobs of enemies, it also buffs the damage of other weapons and abilities this season thanks to the artifact mod Conductive Cosmic Crystal. Pair this with the autoloading capabilities of Envious Arsenal and the fact that double shot GLs are some of the highest burst damage archetypes in the game, and you have a weapon that makes its way into almost every one of the top endgame damage rotations. Aegis recently put out a video covering the best damage rotations this season, and I'll have that linked down in the description below. And I think you'll be surprised just how often Liturgy makes an appearance. Coming in at number 6, we have an all-time fan favorite weapon going all the way back to year 1 of Destiny 2, and that is the newly reprised Midnight Coup. Like the Mountaintop, this weapon was brought back with Onslaught and received a massive glow up to match the current power fantasy in Destiny. It can now roll with the extremely rare combination of Frenzy and Explosive Payload, a perk combo that made Fatebringer so highly sought after in endgame content. These are the only 2 hand cannons in the entire game that can roll this, and the fact that it's now available on a non-raid weapon makes this a highly valuable option to all players. And the crazy part is that it comes with so many other incredible perks as well. In column 1, you have Outlaw, Firefly, and Explosive Payload, and in column 2, you have Rampage, Kinetic Tremors, One for All, Frenzy, and Desperate Measures. But if I had to pick just one other role to go with, it would be the nasty combination of Firefly and One for All, as a single precision kill will cause a massive explosion that instantly procs One for All off surrounding enemies for an instant 35% damage bonus. And once active, this thing hits like a truck and essentially turns it into a legendary version of Sunshot. Midnight Coup is just one of those weapons that feels incredible to use and makes the list as our highest rated primary weapon this year. Kicking off our top 5, we have a brand new weapon that just recently dethroned the call for a spot on this list. This rocket sidearm unfortunately drops from Iron Banner, but is well worth the pain, as we now have a rocket sidearm that rolls with Chill Clip for insane endgame viability. Now don't get me wrong, the call is amazing and absolutely deserves its honorable mention here due to its availability to all players, but the fact that this sidearm can intrinsically stun both Overload and Unstoppable champions while also having a mag perk in Air Trigger that completely negates the ammo reserve nerf to rocket sidearms, it's just too good to not include on this list. Air Trigger gives a plus 30 to inventory size, granting 55 ammo in reserve compared to just 42 on other rocket sidearms. This weapon's combination of ammo economy and endgame viability gives Tashas Mastery a well-deserved top 5 spot. At number 4, we have the Lost Signal. This weapon was the first area denial frame introduced to Destiny and has only gained value as players continue to understand and optimize prismatic builds over time. Area denial frames operate similarly to Witherhoard, producing elemental pools that linger on the ground for extended periods of time. These didn't get a ton of hype at first because they don't deal crazy amounts of damage, but they're solid for ad clear, and where they do shine is building Transcendence energy. Transcendence is extremely strong on all 3 characters right now and is a key factor in Prismatic dominating the meta. Because of how many enemies are taking damage from these weapons at once, nothing builds Transcendence faster. So in loadouts where you want to build your darkness meter quickly, Lost Signal is simply best in slot. It's also the only area denial frame that comes with auto-loading holster, which makes it the ultimate utility weapon. The less you have to stop and reload, the more you can spam your abilities and have a cleaner combat flow. If you haven't tried Lost Signal just yet, I highly recommend integrating this into your loadouts because you'll dominate endgame more than ever before. Moving into our podium spots, at number 3, we have the Abarite Action. This weapon reshaped the meta when it dropped just a few months ago, thanks to its overwhelmingly powerful perk pool. First and foremost, in column 1, we have Heal Clip. This is the ultimate self-sustain perk on any weapon, but is extremely powerful on rocket sidearms due to how easily they can eliminate enemies in all levels of content. It doesn't matter if you're in a Grandmaster or something like a solo dungeon, this thing will get the job done and allow you to quickly reload and sustain your health. Pair this with Incandescent in column 2, and you have the perfect combination of high damage per shot, consistent ad clear, and healing all in one. This weapon will carry you through solo content and still maintains high usage rates in the game's toughest activities. So if you're new to the game or somehow haven't used this thing just yet, trust me, you need to give it a try. At number 2, we have a weapon that unexpectedly took the community by storm, and that is the Velocity Baton. It's just the second area denial frame in the game and drops from Destiny's newest dungeon, Vesper's Host. This weapon essentially fills the same role as Lost Signal, but offers far more utility than just filling your Transcendence bar. This weapon is extremely unique because it comes with Attrition Orbs, a perk that's often overlooked on most weapon archetypes, as it requires rapid hits to spawn Orbs of Power. On the Velocity Baton, however, Attrition Orbs is absolutely god tier, as rapid ticks of damage from area denial frames allow you to generate 2 to 3 Orbs of Power per group of enemies that you kill. This means we can generate a ridiculous number of orbs for our fire team and rapidly build not only our super, but the light portion of our Transcendence bar as well. It also overtakes the Lost Signal due to the evolution of endgame prismatic builds. For example, it was recently discovered that shattering a Glacier Nade on just 2 enemies will nearly fill the entire darkness portion of your Transcendence bar. This means Velocity Baton becomes the obvious choice to build light energy with Consecration, which is the most dominant subclass in the game right now. This also works perfectly with the highly powerful Mask of Fealty and Getaway Artist builds, as darkness energy is easily produced with them, making Velocity Baton a top tier pick once again. If you haven't farmed this weapon just yet, I highly recommend you do so, as it's easily one of the most game-changing weapons of 2024. And finally, at number 1, we have the Chill Inhibitor. We've seen so many powerful grenade launchers over the years, including the Wendigo, Cataphract, Edge Transit, and Bittersweet. But with the recent changes to rapid-fire grenade launchers, nerfs to perks like Envious Assassin, Autoloading Holster, and Reconstruction, and the introduction of new perks such as Envious Arsenal, Chill Inhibitor now reigns as the best heavy grenade launcher in all of Destiny 2. Rapid fires have significantly higher damage output than other archetypes, as they shoot 25% faster and have 30% more ammo in reserve. And on top of this, Chill Inhibitor comes with 2 of the best damage perks in the game right now, with Envious Arsenal in column 1 and Bait and Switch in column 2. These perks synergize perfectly with one another, as each time you tag a boss with all 3 weapons in your loadout, you'll instantly autoload this weapon from reserves and gain a 30% damage bonus in the process. With that said, an honorable mention does go to the Bittersweet here, as it comes with the same god roll as Chill Inhibitor, but suffers from being a slightly less optimal archetype. With that said, if something like Pantheon with weekly surges rolls around again, you'll want to have both of these weapons in your arsenal to absolutely annihilate raid bosses. And there you have it, my top 10 weapons of 2024. If your favorite weapon didn't quite make the list, be sure to let me know why you think it deserves a spot down in the comments below. Anyways guys, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, a like and subscription would be greatly appreciated. And if you'd like to get involved with these conversations in the future, be sure to swing by the stream at twitch.tv/above and hang out with our amazing community. Anyways, that's it from me. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll catch you next time. Peace!